Halfway up the mountain, I tripped and scraped my hand. Liam rushed over, but swerved at the last half-meter and knelt down in front of the girl who'd been gasping for breath beside him. Chloe's out of shape and can't walk any further. Just tough it out for a minute. I'll carry her to the rest area up ahead, then take you to the hospital. I stared at his broad back, soaked through with sweat. The Liam who would tear up and fuss for hours over a paper cut on my finger was gone, washed away by time. The man who once had eyes only for me now looked at someone else first. I bent down, tore off the matching knee braces he'd tied on me himself, and tossed them onto the moss-covered mountain trail. You'll wear yourself out taking care of two people, Mr. Carter, don't bother. I turned and walked down the mountain without looking back. Amelia, where the hell have you been? Liam's angry voice blared through the phone the second I answered. I sat on a plastic chair in the emergency room, watching the nurse flush the gash in my palm with hydrogen peroxide. I came down the mountain, I said through gritted teeth, my voice shaking from the pain. Can you stop being so unreasonable? Liam snapped, his tone dripping with impatience. Chloe was crying her eyes out because she couldn't find you. She thought something had happened to you. You're a grown woman, couldn't you have said something before you left? Do you really need everyone to drop everything for you? The nurse glanced up at me with a look of sympathy as she held a pair of tweezers. I stared at my bloodied right hand. I fell, Liam, I said calmly. There was a 2-second silence on the other end. Then his voice came again, dismissive. I saw, it's just a scrape, isn't it? Chloe's not used to hiking. She was practically blue in the face from exhaustion today. You're tough. You get scrapes all the time. Can't you just be a little understanding? A dull, heavy ache settled in my chest. I remembered sophomore year, when I'd cut my finger on a sheet of A4 paper. Liam had panicked, dragged me to the infirmary, and blamed himself the entire way for not protecting me better. The man who'd lose his mind over a single tear from me now thought my gushing, mangled palm was just a scrape. Yeah, I'm tough, I said flatly as the nurse wrapped my hand in gauze. That's why I don't need you to carry me. Liam picked up on the edge in my voice and his tone turned cold. Amelia, are you jealous again? I carried her because she actually couldn't walk. She's alone in this city. What's wrong with me looking out for a friend? I closed my eyes and forced back the stinging in my eyes. Nothing, I whispered. Liam, we're breaking up. His breath caught sharply. Then he let out a cold laugh. Amelia, don't pull this crap. Do you think this is funny? I watch people come and go through the emergency room doors. I'm serious, fine, he said, his voice arrogant. Break up then. You always throw these tantrums. And you always come crawling back home. I'm taking Chloe to get something to eat to calm her down. You can cool off by yourself. Don't expect me to come pick you up. He hung up without another word. I stared at the black screen and suddenly felt light. When you finally give up completely, there are no tears. I stood up and got in line at the cashier. I paid with one hand, then opened Instagram stories. The first post was from Chloe, posted just now. It was a photo of a steaming bowl of seafood congee. In the background, Liam's hands were peeling shrimp for her. Caption, hiking was exhausting, but it's so nice to be spoiled. Liam had liked it. I stared at the photo calmly, then muted Chloe's stories. After paying, I took a taxi back to the apartment we shared. We'd picked this place together when we graduated. I'd put down most of the down payment, but both our names were on the deed. When I pushed open the door, the apartment still smelled like the cologne Liam had sprayed that morning. I walked into the bedroom and pulled out a suitcase. One-handed, I folded my clothes and packed them away. It hurt. Every time I moved my right hand, blood seeped through the gauze, but I didn't stop. Just as I was finishing up, the front door unlocked. Liam walked in with Chloe, too. Hi, Amelia, Chloe said timidly as she slipped off her shoes. Liam tossed his car keys on the entryway table. His eyes flicked to my bandaged right hand, and his brow twitched almost imperceptibly. But he looked away immediately, his voice flat. Go get Chloe a glass of warm water. She ate too much and her stomach hurts. I zipped up my suitcase and turned to face him. My hand hurts. I can't. Liam's face darkened. Amelia, she's a guest. As the woman of this house, can't you show a little decency? I stared at his unapologetic face and felt absurd. Junior year, when he'd been hospitalized with acute gastritis, I'd stayed up 3 nights straight feeding him porridge spoonful by spoonful. He'd held my hand and promised he'd never let me suffer even a little. Now he was asking me to wait on another woman with an injured hand. Liam, I told you we're breaking up, I said, kicking the cardboard box at my feet aside and stepping up to him. So I'm not the woman of this house. And she's not my guest. Chloe hid behind Liam, her eyes instantly filling with tears. Amelia, don't be mad at Liam, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have let him carry me. I'll leave tomorrow. I won't bother you anymore. Liam grabbed Chloe's wrist and pulled her behind him protectively. This isn't her fault, he snapped, glaring at me. Amelia, are you ever going to stop? It's just a scraped hand. Do you have to take it out on Chloe? I said nothing, just stared at him, at the man I'd loved for 7 years. My calm made him uneasy. He softened his tone. Enough with the drama. I'll take you to that new Japanese place this weekend. I shook my head. No thanks, I'm allergic to seafood. Liam froze. After a moment, he finally remembered you. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Yes, Chloe loved seafood, and he'd memorized every one of her preferences. But he'd forgotten that the woman he'd been with for 7 years broke out in hives all over her body if she ate even a bite of it. You're allergic to seafood, Amelia? Chloe gasped, covering her mouth. Then why did Liam just say he'd take you to a Japanese restaurant? The comment left Liam flustered. His face turned bright red. I've been so busy at work lately. I mixed it up. It's fine that you mixed it up, I said, walking past him toward the door. You won't need to remember anymore anyway. I pushed open the door, and cold night air rushed in. Amelia. Liam shouted after me, his voice tight with suppressed anger. If you walk out that door today, don't expect me to ever chase you again. I didn't look back. Okay. The door slammed shut behind me, cutting off his voice and Chloe's. I dragged my suitcase down the empty street. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my best friend Sophie. Are you really breaking up with Liam? I typed back with one hand. Yes. Sophie called immediately. Thank God you finally came to your senses. That asshole deserved to be dumped ages ago. Where are you? I'll come get you. I gave her my address and waited under a streetlight. The numbing medication was wearing off, and the pain spread through my hand. But as I looked at my shadow on the pavement, I suddenly felt free. Liam thought I was just throwing another tantrum. He thought if he gave in a little, I'd cave like I always did. But he didn't know that some things, once broken, can never be put back together. 3. Sophie took me back to her apartment. When she saw my hand, she cursed Liam out for 10 minutes straight. Is he blind? You're hurt this bad and he's still fawning over that manipulative bitch. I drank water clumsily with my left hand and said nothing. The next morning, I went to work. The first thing I did was submit a transfer request to the HR department. The branch office was in a coastal city in the south, 2,000 kilometers away. The HR manager stared at my bandaged hand. Surprised, Amelia? Once this transfer is approved, you can't come back to headquarters for 3 years. Are you sure about this? I'm sure, I said, signing my name with my left hand. My handwriting was wobbly and uneven. During lunch break, I went back to the apartment. While Liam and Chloe were out, I found the deed and all the purchase documents. I called a real estate agent and listed the house for sale. The agent looked at me hesitantly. Ms. Reed, this property is jointly owned. The other party will need to sign off on the sale. I know, I said, handing him the copies. Just find a buyer first. I'll handle the signature. After that, I took a taxi to my favorite homemade dessert shop. Next week was my mother's death anniversary. Every year, I ordered her favorite traditional Chinese chestnut osmanthus cake. When I walked in, the owner looked embarrassed. I'm so sorry, Ms. Reed. The chestnut osmanthus cake you ordered was picked up by Mr. Carter yesterday. I froze. He picked it up? Yeah, she sighed. He said his friend had low blood sugar and needed something sweet urgently. I thought he was your boyfriend, so I let him take it. I was going to make you another one, but we don't have the ingredients today. I stood at the counter, my chest tight. I'd ordered that cake a month in advance. Liam knew exactly what it meant to me, but he'd taken it without a second thought. Just for Chloe. I took a deep breath and swallowed the lump in my throat. It's okay, thank you. I turned and walked out of the shop. The sun was so bright it made my eyes burn. My phone rang. It was Liam. Where are you? He asked, sounding calm, as if our fight the night before had never happened. Out. Let's have dinner tonight, he said. Chloe feels bad about last night, so she booked that Western restaurant you used to love. Come eat, and we'll forget all about it. I laughed at his entitled tone. Liam, did you take my chestnut osmanthus cake? There was a brief silence on the other end. Oh, that, he said casually. Chloe passed out from low blood sugar yesterday afternoon. I was passing the shop, so I grabbed it. It's just a cake, I'll buy you 10 more. Grabbed it. He didn't remember it was for my mother's death anniversary. He only cared that Chloe needed it. No need, I said calmly. You can keep it. Liam. Keep everything. What do you mean? He detected the change in my tone. What's wrong with you now? Nothing, I said, watching the cars go by. I won't be coming to dinner. You two enjoy yourselves. I didn't yell, didn't demand an explanation. I just hung up. For the next few days. I didn't send Liam a single text, and I never went back to the apartment. My transfer was approved quickly. I'd finish handover by next Wednesday, Saturday afternoon. I got a call from the antique restoration shop. Ms. Reed, the jade safety buckle you brought in is ready for pickup anytime. It was the only thing my mother had left me. Liam had accidentally chipped it last month, and I'd searched forever to find a shop that could repair it. I took a taxi to the shop and carefully tucked the buckle into my bag. As soon as I walked out the door, Liam's car pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down. He was in the driver's seat, looking exhausted. Get in. I stood still. He frowned, his usual impatience returning. Amelia? You've been throwing this fit for almost a week. Enough already. I canceled a company meeting just to come get you. What more do you want? I stared at him. His face suddenly looked unfamiliar. I'm not throwing a fit, I said calmly. I have things to do. I'm leaving. I turned to walk away, but he got out of the car and grabbed my wrist. He grabbed exactly where my wound was. I gasped in pain and wrenched my hand away. What are you doing? Liam froze. His eyes fell on the blood seeping through my gauze, and a flicker of panic crossed his face. But he covered it up quickly. I didn't mean to, he said stiffly. Get in. I need to talk to you. I didn't want to make a scene in the street, so I got into the passenger seat. The car reeked of perfume, the exact kind Chloe wore. Liam started the engine and cleared his throat. You got the safety buckle back, right? I eyed him warily. I did. He turned the steering wheel, his tone casual. Chloe's been having nightmares lately. She can't sleep. She heard your safety buckle was blessed, and she wants to borrow it for a few days to calm her nerves. I promise she'll take good care of it. I sat frozen, my hands and feet going cold. It was the only thing my mother had left me. He'd broken it, and never even apologized properly. Now he wanted to give it to another woman to calm her nerves. I stared at the side of his face. Liam, do you hear yourself? He honked the horn irritably. It's just an old jade pendant. You never even wear it. Chloe's in a really bad state right now. When she's better, I'll buy you a nicer one, okay? I stared at him for a long time, so long that he shifted uncomfortably and turned to glare at me. Why are you looking at me like that? Fine, I said, reaching into my bag and pulling out the box. Liam's eyes lit up. He thought I'd caved, but in the next second, I closed the box again and put it back in my bag. Liam stared, dumbfounded. What the hell? You just took it out. I took it out to show you, I said calmly. It's not something you can just take whenever you want. Liam frowned. We're all friends. Can't we help each other out? Are you really being this petty? I smiled faintly. Petty, unreasonable, call me whatever you want. I pushed open the car door, and cold wind rushed in. Liam, from today on, I will never entrust you with anything important again. His expression changed. What do you mean? I didn't explain. I got out of the car. As the door closed, I heard him shout my name. I turned and walked into the print shop next door. I opened my email and downloaded the house sale authorization form the agent had sent me. I signed my name in the authorizing party section. Then I took out my phone and blocked Liam on everything: Messenger, phone, Venmo, every way he could reach me. 5. For the next 3 days, I methodically cut ties with my old life. I deleted all our photos from every social media platform. I left every group chat that had Liam or Chloe in it. I even cut up the supplementary credit card I'd had on our shared account for 5 years and threw it in the trash. Sophie looked at my calm face, worried. Amelia, are you okay? You can cry if you need to. I shook my head, tucking the last of my coats into my suitcase. I just feel sick to my stomach. I opened Chloe's Twitter or X profile. Sure enough, she posted a new update. In the photo, she was wearing a nightgown, a new blessed jade pendant around her collarbone. Caption: finally slept through the night with this. Thank you for spoiling me. In the comments, a few of our mutual friends were teasing her. Wow, Liam really dotes on you. That jade looks expensive. He's so generous. I stared at the comments and felt nothing. The next morning, I finished all my handover at work. My flight left that afternoon, straight for the south. I stood in the airport terminal with my suitcase, watching the flight information scroll by. The boarding announcement played. I turned off my phone and walked towards security. As the plane took off, Liam was pushing open the door to our apartment. He was holding a bag of pan-fried pork buns, my favorite, Amelia. I brought you. His voice echoed in the empty living room. The apartment was unnervingly clean. There were no shoes by the door, no throw pillows on the couch. He froze in place. The pan-fried buns in his hand grew cold. He pulled out his phone and dialed my number. We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Liam's brow furrowed tightly. He threw his phone on the bed in frustration. Playing the disappearing act again, he scoffed. Let's see how long you can hide. Just then, Chloe walked out of the guest room. She rubbed her eyes, her voice sweet and soft. Liam, is Amelia back yet? Liam glanced at her, pushing down the strange panic rising in his chest. Forget her. She's just being dramatic. She'll come back on her own in a few days. He handed her the bag of pan-fried buns. Eat these. They'll get cold. Chloe took the bag and smiled. Liam sat on the bed, staring at the empty closet. The irritation inside him grew stronger and stronger. He was convinced I couldn't live without him. Convinced I was just doing this to make him beg. So he decided he wouldn't chase me this time. But he didn't know that it was really over between us. 6. I settled into the small coastal town in the south. The pace of work at the branch office was much slower than at headquarters. And my colleagues were warm and welcoming. I rented an apartment with a balcony. Every evening after work, I could watch the sunset and the seagulls. My wound was slowly scabbing over, and my life was getting back on track, 2,000 kilometers away. Liam finally started to realize something was wrong. Day 3, Liam came home from work to a dark, empty apartment. He called out my name out of habit. The only response was Chloe's coughing from the guest room. He ripped off his tie in frustration and walked to the kitchen to get a glass of water. The water purifier's filter light was flashing red, and there was a thin layer of dust on the cups. I'd always taken care of these things before. He frowned and pulled out his phone. Dialing my number again, still disconnected. He opened Messenger and tried to send me a message. A red exclamation mark popped up on the screen. Liam's face finally changed. He jumped up, grabbed his car keys, and ran out. He drove to Sophie's apartment. Sophie opened the door, rolled her eyes when she saw him. What do you want? Where's Amelia? There was a faint note of panic in his voice. Tell her to come out. Stop hiding. Sophie laughed coldly, crossing her arms and leaning against the doorframe. Liam, are you insane? Amelia broke up with you. She's not here. Broke up. His voice was sarcastic. She's thrown tantrums like this before. She moved all her stuff out just to scare me. Tell her enough is enough. I'm here to take her home. Sophie stared at his arrogant, entitled face and wanted to punch him. Home? The home where Chloe's living. Liam. Amelia doesn't want you anymore. She sold the house overnight, didn't you know? Liam froze completely. What did you say? I said she sold the house. Sophie said slowly, enunciating every word. Didn't the real estate agent call you? She put down most of the money, and she asked me to handle the rest. You need to sign the papers. Liam's mind went blank. He finally realized I wasn't throwing a tantrum. I was really gone. He fumbled with his phone and called the real estate agent. The agent confirmed what Sophie had said. Mr. Carter. Ms. Reed did list the property for sale with us. Liam's hands started shaking. He hung up and stared at Sophie. Where did she go? Sophie looked at him coldly. I don't know, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. You deserve this. Liam, the door slammed shut in his face. He stood in the hallway, feeling like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. Just then, Chloe called. Liam, when are you coming home? I'm scared alone. Before, Liam would have immediately comforted her in a soft voice, but now, hearing her voice, he only felt a wave of overwhelming irritation. Then turn on the lights. He shouted into the phone. I'm busy, bye. He hung up and leaned against the cold wall, gasping for breath. Only then did he realize that the Amelia who'd always waited for him at home, who'd always forgiven him, was really gone. 7. Liam started searching for me frantically. He went to all the cafes I used to frequent, all the bookstores I liked, even my parents' graves. He found nothing. Finally, he remembered my company. Early the next morning, he stormed into my old department and cornered my former team lead. Where's Amelia? Why isn't she at work today? The team lead looked at him, confused. Mr. Carter, Amelia transferred to the Southern Branch office. Didn't you know? Liam froze. Transferred? When? It was approved last week. The team lead sighed. She left in such a hurry. She didn't even have a farewell party. Liam stumbled, almost falling. He thought back to how calm I'd been the week before. That wasn't compromise. That was complete and utter resignation. He walked out of the office building in a daze. The sun was bright, but he felt cold to the bone. He went back to the apartment. Chloe was sitting on the couch, turning the new jade pendant over in the light. When she saw Liam, she jumped up to greet him. "Liam, you're back. Look how pretty this pendant is now that I've worn it." Liam stared at the jade around her neck and suddenly felt sick. He walked over and ripped the pendant off her neck. Chloe screamed, clutching her red, stinging neck. "Liam, what are you doing?" Liam clenched the pendant so tightly his knuckles turned white. Chloe flinched at the redness in his eyes, tears instantly streaming down her face. You gave it to me. You said it looked good on me." "Shut up," Liam snapped. He stared at her tearful, innocent face and suddenly felt nauseous. He finally remembered that on the day of the hike, Chloe hadn't walked more than a few steps. She complained the whole time, then just sat down on the steps, and I'd tripped and fallen on my way to buy her water. What had he done? He hadn't even glanced at me. He'd walked straight to Chloe. Liam's breathing became ragged. He pulled out his phone and called a friend. "Check Amelia's hospital records from last Sunday at the city hospital." 10 minutes later, his friend sent the records. Liam opened the image and his pupils constricted. The diagnosis was clear. Deep laceration to the right palm with a minor fracture. 7 stitches. Liam's phone slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. He collapsed to his knees, covering his face with his hands. A choked, agonized sob escaped his throat. He remembered me saying calmly over the phone that I'd fallen. He remembered the blood seeping through my gauze as I packed my things one-handed. What had he been doing? He'd been calling me unreasonable, peeling shrimp for another woman, Amelia. He pressed the jade pendant to his chest, tears falling onto the floor. "I'm sorry, Amelia. I'm so sorry." Chloe stood beside him, watching him break down, panic flashing in her eyes. She knew her good days were over. 8. Liam's life fell apart completely. He threw Chloe out of the apartment, dumping all her things on the doorstep. Chloe cried and begged him, using all her old excuses. "Liam, I have no one else here. You can't do this to me." Liam stared at her coldly. "No one else? You didn't seem to care when you posted those Twitter posts to taunt Amelia, did you? Get out." Chloe was stung by the hatred in his eyes. She dropped the act and started screaming. "Liam, don't act like you're some tragic hero. You're the one who pushed her away. You feel bad now? It's too late." Her words stabbed him right in the heart. He closed the door and locked himself in the empty apartment. He started staying up all night, unable to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw my bleeding hand and my empty, emotionless eyes. He tried to drown himself in work, but he kept making mistakes in meetings. Once he even called an important client by my name. The board of directors was furious with his performance and forced him to take a long leave of absence. He took my hospital records and went to the emergency room where I'd been treated. The nurse remembered me. "Oh, that girl," she sighed. "She was hurt pretty bad. When the numbing wore off, she was sweating bullets, but she didn't make a sound." I asked her if she wanted to call her family, and she said no, her family was busy. Liam stood in the hallway, numb. He finally understood. I hadn't been unhurt. I'd just known that even if I screamed in pain, he wouldn't care. He started asking everyone he knew where I was. He used all his connections, combed through the entire Southern Branch office's employee list. Finally, after 2 weeks, he found out which city I was in. He bought a plane ticket that night and flew to the coastal town. He stood outside the branch office building, waiting from dawn until sunset. Finally, in the crowd of people leaving work, he saw me. I was wearing a trench coat, holding a cup of coffee, laughing and talking with a colleague. I looked healthier than I had at headquarters. There was no more tiredness in my eyes. Liam froze in place, his eyes instantly filling with tears. He took a step toward me. "Amelia." His voice was hoarse. I heard him and turned around. When I saw him, the smile slowly faded from my face. I looked at him like he was a complete stranger. Liam walked up to me, his eyes fixed on the scar on my right hand. He reached out to touch it. "Does your hand still hurt?" I stepped back, avoiding his touch. "Mr. Carter, is there something I can help you with?" My tone was polite and distant. No anger, no resentment. Liam's hand hung in mid-air, his fingers trembling. "Amelia, I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking, tears in his eyes. "I saw your hospital records. I had no idea you were hurt that bad. I kicked Chloe out. I'll never see her again. Come back with me, please. Let's start over." I stared at his desperate, broken expression and felt nothing. "Liam," I said calmly, "do you really think that just because you say you're sorry, I'll wait around for you forever?" 9. The sea breeze blew. carrying a faint salty tang. Liam stared at me, speechless. You didn't know how bad I was hurt because you didn't want to know, I said, looking him straight in the eye. The second you turned to Chloe on that mountain, we were done. Late affection is cheaper than grass, Liam. Liam's face turned deathly pale. His tall frame swayed unsteadily. Amelia, I know I'm an asshole. I know I broke your heart, he said, reaching out to grab my sleeve. Hit me. Yell at me, whatever you want, just don't leave me. I swear, you'll be the only one in my heart from now on. I'll transfer all my property to your name. I stared at him and felt absurd. Liam, you still don't get it? I don't want your money. I don't want your pathetic guilt. I've started a new life, and you're just a mistake I made in the past. I turned away from him. Don't come looking for me again. Have some self-respect. I walked into the sunset without looking back. Liam stood there, watching my figure disappear into the distance. He finally realized he'd lost me for good. I dealt him the deadliest blow with the calmest of hands. When Liam went back to headquarters, he got seriously ill. He had a high fever that wouldn't break, and he lost a lot of weight. In his dreams, he relived every moment we'd shared. He dreamed of me burning my hand while making him soup. He dreamed of me staying up all night comforting him after he'd had a bad day at work. He dreamed of my empty eyes when he'd handed that jade pendant to Chloe. He'd wake up sweating, his heart aching so bad he could barely breathe. As for Chloe, things didn't go well for her either. She'd made a lot of enemies while putting on her innocent act. After Liam dumped her, she tried to hit on other rich guys, but all of Liam's friends blacklisted her. Someone posted screenshots of her fake illnesses and manipulative messages online. She became a laughingstock, couldn't find a decent job, and ended up moving back to her hometown in disgrace. Sophie told me all this over Messenger. Amelia, you have no idea how miserable Liam is now, she said, gleeful in her voice message. He bought the house back and just sits there alone all day staring at the walls. I heard he's seeing a therapist. Clinical depression. I watered the plants on my balcony and replied casually, is that so? I hope he gets better soon. I hung up and looked out at the coastline. The sun glinted off the water, and seagulls flew freely overhead. My right hand still had a scar, but it didn't hurt anymore. I'd finally walked away from that long, suffocating relationship. I'd left the Liam who once had eyes only for me forever on that moss-covered mountain trail. 10. Spring came again the next year. My own studio officially opened in the South on opening day. My colleagues sent lots of flower baskets, and Sophie flew in especially to celebrate. Boss Amelia, you have to look out for me now, Sophie joked, clinking her champagne glass against mine. Will do, I laughed. Just then, there was a commotion at the door. I turned around and saw someone I never expected to see again. Liam? He was wearing a trench coat, gaunt almost to the point of being unrecognizable. His eyes were sunken, and his jaw was covered in stubble. He was holding a bouquet of white roses, my favorite. He stood awkwardly at the door, completely out of place. The smile vanished from Sophie's face. She stepped in front of me protectively. What are you doing here? You're not welcome. Liam ignored her. His eyes were locked on mine. Amelia, congratulations on your studio opening. His voice was rough and hoarse. I looked at him and felt nothing. Thank you, I said calmly. You can put the flowers over there. Liam walked forward and set the bouquet on the table. He stared at me, his eyes full of pleading. Amelia, can I talk to you alone? Just for a minute. I'll leave right after. I glanced at my curious colleagues and nodded. Okay. I led him out to the studio's terrace. The sea breeze ruffled my hair. I pulled my coat tighter around me and looked at him. Go ahead. Liam took a deep breath, gathering all his courage. Amelia, I've regretted every single day of this past year. I regret not going to you that day on the mountain. I kicked Chloe out. I bought our old house back. I want to transfer it to your name as compensation. He pulled a document out of his pocket and held it out to me. I stared at the paper and didn't take it. Liam, you still don't understand. I don't want your compensation. I don't want the house. This was never about a house or an apology. The hurt you caused me was real. The scar on my hand is real. I held up my right hand. The scar was still clear in the sunlight. Tears finally fell down Liam's face. He covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking violently. I know I'm a monster, he sobbed. But Amelia, I can't live without you. I watched him break down and felt only a deep sadness. Liam, stop lying to yourself. You can't live without me. You just can't accept that the Amelia who always forgave you is gone forever. I turned my back to him. Go home, live your life. don't bother me again. I walked back into the studio and didn't look at him again later. I heard that Liam donated the house to a charity. He resigned from his job and went to teach in a remote small town. He was trying to atone for his sins, to ease the pain in his heart. But none of that mattered to me anymore. I stood on the balcony and watched the sun sink slowly into the sea. The sky turned orange and pink. I took a deep breath and smiled. Finally at peace. Once, I thought my world would end if I lost Liam later. I realized that the thing that had been hurting me wasn't losing him, it was the way I kept handing my dignity over to someone who didn't deserve it. Now, I'd finally found myself again. The sea breeze blew, and everything was perfect. Hey there, could you rate this story in the comments? Use a scale of 1 to 10. Please, I'm begging you. It really means a lot to me, and if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit follow.